Do you know what I like to do before Mother's Day? I like to talk about my mom. So this is a VR for Eric at the Card Closet. And he reached 750 subs. Congratulations, Eric. And he wanted us to talk about our mother and what role she played in our card collecting. And my mother played a big role because she started me in collecting. But I'll go back to my birth. When my mother got pregnant with me, she got very sick. She got very nauseous, like 24 hours a day, couldn't eat anything. She was deathly sick. Now, my grandmother suffered from mental illness, had shock treatments and everything. And at one time, they believed that was hereditary. So they would try to tell my mother that she was depressed because she was pregnant, and they would taunt her in the hospital. And she was very nauseous, and she would want the blinds closed because the sun would make her more nauseous. And the nurses would open up the blinds and say, "You need to stop being depressed. You shouldn't sit here in the dark." So I was born in a small town. They weren't privy to seeing a lot of different things, but it turned out we came to understand this disease was called hyperemesis gravidarum, which was believed to be a mental illness at one time. But further medicine discovered that it's a very rare disease that happens in about 1 in a million women. And essentially what happens is you become allergic to the hormone that is produced when you're pregnant. So your body is literally rejecting the baby, basically. Not a lot of people knew about this disease until Princess Kate Middleton got it. If you recall, she was very sick with her births, and that's why she had the same thing. Of course, now they can treat it, but back then they didn't know what it was. In fact, it's my understanding that hyperemesis gravidarum is a term referred to a mental health, a mental illness. And it's tough when you have mental illness in your family, at least back then, because people would always blame that doctors would blame that for things they couldn't diagnose. I remember I was having issues, and I went into the doctor, and he told me that it was probably nerves, and my mother grabbed me and said, "We're never coming back to him." And she took me to a very well-known and respected pediatrician, and it turned out I had been stabbed with lead, and I had lead poisoning, and he wanted to tell me that it was because I had mental illness. So those are the kinds of things that happened back then. So my mother was sick, and she couldn't hold food down. She would vomit everything up, lost all kind of weight, was emaciated. And so when she went in to give birth to me, back then they used a gas mask. And so she got sick because she had eaten, which she was nauseous all the time. And she aspirated into the gas mask, and she tried to shove it off, and the nurse shoved it on her face and drowned her in her own vomit. Her heart stopped for 12 seconds. They had to do an emergency tracheotomy, which she has a scar like this size. They just dug into her neck, put a tube down there, saved her life. And I was born prematurely, and she and I were both given last rites and not expected to live. There was a movie in the 80s called, what was that movie called? The Verdict. It was a movie starring Paul Newman. And what happened to that woman's exactly what happened to my mother, except in that movie, the woman became a vegetable. They didn't save her in time. So, my mother ended up being fine, and I ended up being fine. Thank God. For both of us. And I've already had my last rites, so I'm good there. But when I was a little kid, my mom claimed she started buying me cards when I was 2 years old. She had read an article by some parenting guru that, if you want to teach your kids to read, give them something that they enjoy, something they have an interest in. And she had bought me a pack of baseball cards one day, at the store, and she said that I would just sit there on the floor and look through these cards over and over and over again. And so she knew I had a fascination with them and a love, and so she would buy me more, and she would buy me baseball books because she knew that I had an interest, and that's what I would like to read. So that's my story about my mom. Getting a little teary-eyed. All right. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. My mother's special, and I owe her everything. Thanks for watching.